Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. Yesterday, we found out that Ghislaine Maxwell is attempting to sue Jeffrey Epstein's estate for her legal fees. As you can imagine, that did not go over well with just about the rest of the world. Well, Virginia Roberts had a response of her own to Ghislaine Maxwell, the vile, wretched, disgusting excuse for a human being. And that's what we're going to talk about this morning. So, this is from the Daily Mail. Headline: Jeffrey Epstein accuser Virginia Roberts slams sadistic Ghislaine Maxwell for playing the victim card as the pedophile's madam, co-conspirator, stakes a legal claim to his $636 million estate. This article was written by Sophie Tano and Martin Gould. Virginia Roberts has slammed Jeffrey Epstein's madam. That's so ridiculous. She's not a madam, all right? She is not a madam. She's a co-conspirator. Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, for playing the victim card after she filed a lawsuit against the late financier's estate, pedophile's estate. Now imagine being Virginia Roberts. Talk about a slap in the face. Talk about the ultimate slap in the face, in fact. We all understand what Ghislaine Maxwell is. We all know what she was up to. She wasn't accused by just one person. This isn't somebody with a vendetta. All right, she isn't being accused because people have a vendetta against her or they're trying to get some money out of her. No. She's being accused because, in my opinion, she is guilty as sin. It emerged yesterday that Maxwell, 58, is seeking reimbursement of her legal fees and personal security costs from the pedophile's $636 million estate. Well, you wouldn't have to worry about any of that, Ghislaine. If you would just turn yourself in, go ahead and turn yourself into authorities, sit down with an interrogator, and have a nice, long, lovely chat under oath. What are you scared of? What are you scared of? Prominent Epstein accuser Roberts slammed the British former socialite for trying to get cash from the dead child molester's estate, calling her a vile, evil, sadistic creature. 100%, Virginia. 100%. And there's a lot of other words that we could use that aren't family friendly to describe her as well. But I think that sums it up. Vile, evil, and a sadistic creature. We can all get on board with that. She took to Twitter to condemn Maxwell, who she has accused of being an enabler to Epstein's sex abuse. And not only an enabler, let's remember, okay? Let's remember what Ghislaine Maxwell did to Maria Farmer. Let's never forget that, folks. Let's always keep that very close in our minds, okay? Let's always keep it very, very close in our minds what Ghislaine Maxwell did to Maria Farmer as well. She wrote, "Memo to GM. How dare you play the victim card when you victimize me and countless others? You are a vile, evil, sadistic creature, not even worthy of calling a human being. I hope the judge ruling over this laughs you out of court and into jail. Hashtag enough." Wow. You know what? Virginia Roberts has every single right to be very upset about this and to fire off such a scathing reply. And if it was me, she's actually more controlled than I would be. I'd go crazy on this lady. I would have had a 450,000 page tweet of things I'd like to say to Ghislaine Maxwell. So when you see Virginia Roberts fire off a tweet like that and lay into someone like Ghislaine Maxwell, it makes me happy. It makes me smile because you know what? She's able to stand up for herself now. Right? She doesn't have to hide in the shadows. She doesn't have to be intimidated by these people anymore. Because guess what? There's no reason to be intimidated by them anymore. She's not alone. She is not alone with her story anymore. She doesn't have to beg and plead for people to listen to her anymore. Because guess what? We're all here. We're all listening. And we all believe her. So she is no longer hiding in the shadows. And Virginia Roberts has taken up the challenge of smacking these people in the mouth every time they pop off or they have some ridiculous statement to make. Virginia Roberts is always at the forefront of telling them to shut their yaps. And she should be commended for that. And I'll tell you what, she is certainly not alone anymore, folks. Roberts, who says she was trafficked by convicted sex offender, pedophile, Epstein, has accused Maxwell of being an enabler to his abuse and previously described how she demanded her to have sex with Prince Andrew in London in 2001, telling her to do Andrew what I do for Jeffrey. Right there, that alone should have Ghislaine Maxwell buried underneath a prison. The fact that you were providing young girls for men, never mind just men, but for people like Prince Andrew, the most powerful amongst us, the most so-called elite amongst us, that you were providing girls to people like that, and you are still running around free and with these ridiculous lawsuits where you actually believe that you were a victim, is just beyond the pale of disgusting. Roberts, now aged 36, has called for Maxwell to be put behind bars and has previously stated she should be rotting in jail for her atrocities against me and so many other little girls she dragged into Epstein's orbit. For sure. 100% for sure. In fact, I'll take it a step further. Why don't they just forget about prison and just drop her in the middle of Guantanamo Bay? That's perfectly fine with me. We could put her right in Guantanamo Bay and just forget about her. Or maybe even put her on one of those CIA black sites that her buddies in the CIA love so much, where they like to waterboard people and torture people. You know, typical behavior. But maybe Ghislaine will benefit from some of that. Maxwell has filed paperwork in the U.S. Virgin Islands for a piece of the disgraced financier, pedophiles, estimated $636 million estate because, she says, he promised to pay for her lawyers. It emerged on Wednesday. Yeah, okay. Nobody believes you, Ghislaine, okay? Nobody believes you. No humans, no animals, no parasites, no viruses. Nobody or nothing believes you. In fact, you are probably a bigger liar than Andrew at this point. Maxwell wants the money to pay for legal expenses for suits from women who say she procured them to give sexual services to Epstein while they were still teenagers. In her suit, Maxwell describes herself as a longtime employee who had a legal and special relationship with Epstein, who was found dead in his cell in New York last August. Yeah, a special relationship. You were the co-conspirator and the brains behind the operation, you disgusting piece of trash. You had a special relationship, all right. You were bringing these girls in and grooming them and preparing them for Jeffrey Epstein's disgustingness. Yeah, special relation. She said she incurred significant legal fees, personal security costs, and other expenses due to her work for several of Epstein's businesses between 1996 and 2006. She said she managed Epstein's homes in the Virgin Islands, New York, Paris, Florida, and New Mexico. The suit says she also worked for his COUQ Foundation. Maxwell also claims that before his death, he told her he would pay all her legal fees in lawsuits where she was named as a defendant. Well, that's funny, because I heard that before Jeffrey Epstein died, he said he didn't want any of this stuff to go to trial. He didn't want it to go to the executors to do any kind of program. He just wanted all of these girls to have the money. How about that? What if I said that? Why does what Ghislaine Maxwell say hold any weight? She's a known liar. Right? She's a compulsive liar. She's done nothing but BS this whole entire time. Why would any judge believe what she has to say here? She says she sent Epstein's estate a letter last November demanding indemnification of those costs, saying Epstein had put it in writing that he wanted to pay her costs. She says the estate has so far not honored that commitment, and they shouldn't, okay? Nobody should honor any sort of commitments that you say that they've made to you. You should be in prison right now, okay, Ghislaine Maxwell? And if your friend, your so-called mouthpiece, Laura Goldman, has anything to say, well, she should just pause, because nobody believes anything she has to say either, all right? And frankly, I don't even believe that she is in contact with Ghislaine Maxwell at this point. The Times says the lawsuit was filed by the law firm Quintaros, Prieto, Wood & Boyer, which has an office in St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. The lawsuit did not say where Maxwell is now living. Last month, a judge allowed a lawsuit against her to be filed by email because her accusers had been unable to track her down. Judge Deborah Freeman took the rare step in a federal court in Manhattan. We haven't heard anything more about that. I'm interested to see the movement on that part of the case, her being subpoenaed via email. That is very extraordinary. I'd like to see where that goes. Annie Farmer, 40, has accused the former socialite, co-conspirator of Epstein's, of trafficking her from Arizona to Epstein's Zorro Ranch south of Santa Fe, New Mexico in 1996, where she claims Maxwell sexually assaulted her. 100% believe Annie Farmer as well, folks, all right? You know, what happened to Maria Farmer and Annie Farmer is absolutely and utterly beyond the pale. And the fact that it's not talked about more in the mainstream media bothers me. Ghislaine Maxwell is being credibly accused of not only enabling folks, but of partaking in the abuse. Freeman ordered Maxwell to be served by email and through attorneys representing her in the lawsuit filed by Virginia Roberts, 36, one of the most prominent accusers of Epstein's. Maxwell was said by Farmer's lawyers to be actively participating in Roberts' defamation case in the same court. Farmer's lawyers said they didn't think Maxwell should be able to dodge the law. Judge Freeman said Farmer had attempted to locate and personally serve Maxwell to no avail. Her counsel has conducted extensive public records searches and located various addresses for Maxwell, she said. The judge added that Farmer had adequately demonstrated that personal service would be impractical. Maxwell, the daughter of disgraced media mogul Robert Maxwell, has fallen off the grid since Epstein was found dead in his jail cell aged 66 while he awaited trial on sex trafficking charges. I can definitely confirm that they have chased down Ghislaine Maxwell to the corners of the earth, and they haven't been able to find her to be able to serve her in person. That's why the extraordinary step was taken of serving her via email. His death was ruled a suicide, but this has been disputed by his lawyers, who say he may have been murdered. Not just by his lawyers, by a lot of people following the case. A lot of intelligent people, trained doctors, examiners, medical examiners, etc., etc. DailyMail.com revealed last August that Maxwell was living with a new boyfriend, tech CEO Scott Borgenson, in a $3 million oceanfront mansion in Manchester by the Sea, Massachusetts. She is also reported to have been seen in places as far apart as Brazil and Israel, but the only picture to appear of her has appeared online. That claims she was reading a book at an In-N-Out Burger in Southern California. Borgenson was spotted walking Maxwell's dog near his office in Boston. Maxwell, who was described as the madam of the house by a former housekeeper at Epstein's home in Palm Beach, Florida, strenuously denied any wrongdoing after the former Wall Street whiz's death. Yeah, okay, whatever. Nobody believes you, all right? Nobody believes any of the bullshit stories you have. Nobody believes any of the BS your so-called friend Laura Goldman spouting off every single time there's an article about you. Nobody's buying it. So you might as well just come forward, sit down with a seasoned interrogator, and spill the beans, because we are not going to let up until you are brought to justice. Maxwell and Epstein dated for several years. She facilitated Epstein's entry to the rarefied worlds of royalty, politics, and celebrity, cementing his friendships with Prince Andrew, Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and Woody Allen, among others. Again, this is a very important part of the story, and it's just kind of mentioned as an afterthought in all of these stories. She facilitated Epstein's entry to the rarefied worlds of royalty, politics, high-end elite people, and that was her part in the blackmail scheme. Let's not lose sight of that. She was the vehicle to get Jeffrey Epstein's foot in the door so that he could be part of this society, so that they can in return get them caught up in their honey trap. It's very significant that we always remember what was going on here, and that we always remember Ghislaine Maxwell's very significant part. She is the youngest child of Robert Maxwell, who fell to his death from his yacht, the Lady Ghislaine, in 1991, allegedly. After he died, it was discovered he had embezzled nearly £500 million British pounds from his company's pension funds. The apple does not fall far from the tree. Again, they've been involved in this sort of money laundering, this fraud, this embezzlement for years and years and years. They have the blueprint. And if you think Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein weren't using the same blueprint with the money he was making on Wall Street, you are out to lunch. She attended the boarding school Marlborough College in Wiltshire, England, a favorite of the British elite, and went on to study at Oxford University. In her 20s, she was a well-known face on London's social scene and founded the Kit Kat Club, an alternative to the old-school Thai network for high-powered women. Oh, I can only imagine what was going on there. Sort of like the Soda Club, probably, in Hollywood that we heard so much about from all of the kids who were abused by the sick, disgusting bastards in Hollywood, pedo wood, who hang out with Ghislaine Maxwell, who invited her to their parties, who were at Epstein's functions. Yeah, they're all fellow travelers, folks. She worked for her father's newspaper, The European, and as the director of Oxford United Soccer Club when her father was owner. Yeah, because I'm sure she knows so much about soccer that she should be a director. Give me a break. The nepotism makes me want to vomit all over my office desk. Vilified in the UK, where Robert Maxwell's victims were angered by the lavish lifestyle his family had enjoyed at their expense, Ghislaine relocated to New York, where she took up residence in a small apartment and set about reinventing herself. In the early 90s, she took up with Epstein, a Gatsby-like financial whiz, gross way to explain him. How about a disgusting Jimmy Savile-like pedophile who reportedly only managed the money of clients who could invest $1 billion. Easier to steal that money, huh? When you got them billion-dollar clients. Easier to get them wrapped up into your criminal enterprise. Easier to get them wrapped up into your blackmail operation. And now you have complete and unfettered access to billions to do with as you like. His sole publicly named client was Les Wexner, the former owner of L Brands, which includes Victoria's Secret and Bath & Body Works. I like how that sounds, folks. The former owner of L Brands. Yeah, buddy. See ya, Les Wexner. Enjoy the retirement. Maxwell operated as part girlfriend, part employee, orchestrating Epstein's social life. Epstein supported her and helped her remain in the social position she had grown accustomed to from her upbringing. Ghislaine floated in and out of the house with the keys, and even though Jeffrey told me they didn't have a sexual relationship, she dropped under her breath that she was sleeping in his bed from time to time. One Epstein ex-girlfriend told Vanity Fair. Folks, again, Epstein was like the guru with these women. He had them all wrapped around his little finger like Keith Raniere at Nexium, and the parallels are very, 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 very interesting between the two. The way that Epstein had these gals wrapped around his finger is something that definitely needs to be explored by some psychologists at some point. The pair partied with Donald and Melania Trump at Mar-a-Lago and threw lavish dinners at Epstein's Upper East Side townhouse, attended by celebrities including Woody Allen, Katie Couric, Chelsea Handler, David Blaine, and Google co-founder Sergey Brin. For some reason, they don't add George Stephanopoulos, but I like to add him every time we talk about that, because it's important, because he's another one of these guys that stands atop his ivory tower and shouts down at the rest of us. The jet-setting financier, the pedophile, also hobnobbed with Trump allies Wilbur Ross, Steve Mnuchin, and Rudy Giuliani at a Hamptons film screening in 2010, just 2 months after his release from prison in Florida. Isn't that nice? Aren't those fellas just fantastic guys to be hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein after his conviction? Rudy Giuliani, huh? The mayor of New York. You should be embarrassed, sir. In 2008, Epstein was offered a secret deal to avoid federal prosecution and pleaded guilty to state charges of soliciting an underage girl for sex. As part of the deal, the federal prosecutors agreed to not charge any potential co-conspirators of Epstein's. Boy, that two-tier justice system rearing its ugly head again. Isn't it nice? It must be really fantastic to be able to have Alan, I didn't take my underwear off so I'm not guilty Dershowitz in the back room pressuring these podunk-ass prosecutors. It must be nice to have all the money in the world to pay off witnesses. It must be real nice to have the so-called prosecution working with you to destroy the girls' reputations. Boy, it must be really nice to be on the other side of the fence, huh? He served 13 months in county jail in Palm Beach, Florida, and registered as a sex offender during his sentence. He was allowed to work from his office most days. The deal was cut by Alex Acosta, then U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida. He resigned from Trump's cabinet, where he was Secretary of Labor in the fallout from the Epstein case. On July 6 last year, FBI investigators broke down the doors to Epstein's $77 million New York home after he was arrested on his private jet at Teterboro Airport in New Jersey following a flight from Paris. Well, the Zorro Ranch has still not been raided, folks. Zorro Ranch has still not had its federal investigator step in the doors and collect evidence. The evidence is gone now, obviously. All of his buddies stole away the evidence, secreted it away in the middle of the night, the same way Sarah Kellen Vickers did in the first arrest. We know that happened. There's going to be nothing there anymore. All of these homes should have been raided at the same time, simultaneously, doors kicked in, everything garnered, all evidence collected, and the case should have moved on. But instead, once again, the prosecutors are stuck dragging their feet and acting like there is no time limits here, like it's not time sensitive. A search of Epstein's home turned up hundreds of pictures of nude women, some of them minors, along with cash, diamonds, valuable art, and an expired Austrian passport with Epstein's face, but someone else's name, claiming Saudi Arabia as place of residence, according to Jeffrey Berman, U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. Well, we know that Ronald Lauder was the ambassador to Austria. And we also know that Ronald Lauder is very friendly with the mega group. So we know where that passport came from, okay? We know that the genesis of where that passport came from. In my opinion, Ronald Lauder provided that passport to Epstein back in the day. Maxwell is alleged to be one of the main players in a network of recruiters and enablers who provided Epstein with those underage girls to sexually abuse. And that network, that group of girls, as we call them here on the show, is the Core Four. And speaking of the Core Four, episode 3 will be out Monday afternoon. So, in closing, what we have here is Ghislaine Maxwell just utterly thumbing everyone in the eye with her brazen, disgusting pursuit of legal fees in this case. And I'm glad to see Virginia Roberts at the forefront once again, standing up for all of the survivors, standing up for everyone who was abused by Jeffrey Epstein, and telling this vile creature basically to shut her mouth. And like I said, the response on Twitter and social media has been overwhelming in regards to how people feel towards Ghislaine Maxwell and her disgusting behavior. So I can't see any judge granting this request, but I've been shocked throughout this whole entire process with the behavior of judges, with the behavior of prosecution, with the behavior of the media. So I have a wait and see approach to see how the judge looks at this and see how the judge handles it. But one thing I can guarantee you is we'll be right here on the podcast, completely and utterly dragging her over the coals for her behavior. It is unconscionable that this woman believes that she is entitled to any money that should be going to the survivors. It is utterly disgusting. All right, like I was just saying, we're going to have episode 3 of the 5-part series on Monday, and we're going to talk about Nadia Marcinkova on Monday. So that will be part 3. The first 2 parts of the series you can find. They were posted a few days ago, and you could check out that there and get yourself caught up if you're not caught up already, so you're prepared for Monday's release. All right, folks, if you'd like to contact me, you can do that at Bobbycapucci at protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI at protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All right, folks, I'll be back later on with some more. I hope you all enjoy your day and stay safe.